we have yet to have another Superman movie after 2013's Man of Steel starring Henry Cavill. Now, that movie in 2013 made about $668 million, which is actually a pretty good figure by superhero standards. I mean, a lot of superhero movies that come out today, if they make $668 million, a lot of people say that's okay, right? I mean, Ant-Man, the first one, made less than that, and it got 2 sequels. Shazam made about half that, and it's getting a sequel. But Man of Steel 2 has not yet happened, or another Superman movie starring Henry Cavill, right? It doesn't have to be called Man of Steel. It could be called something else, but just a sequel to that movie. Now, an argument I've heard from at least a couple of people is that, well, Man of Steel didn't make enough money, right? But I've just said, it made good money. I mean, 668 million is not a number to sneeze at. But, the argument I've heard is that, well, Superman is like a top tier hero character. His first movie should have made $1 billion or something, and more than 668. So that's no excuse. But I actually don't think that's a valid reason to diminish Man of Steel's financial accomplishments either, because Batman Begins, starring Christian Bale, which came out in 2005, they made $379 million. They made less than Man of Steel, right? And, Batman is a bigger character than Superman. His toys sell more than Superman does. He makes more money, with all of his merchandise and shows and movies combined than Superman does, right? But no one is using that, he didn't make $1 billion with his first movie argument against, the Christian Bale, Christopher Nolan Batman movies, the first one anyway. So why do they use an argument with Superman movies? That was the same argument they made with Superman Returns starring Brandon Routh in 2006. They made $391 million, still more than Shazam, which is getting a sequel, right? But, Brandon Routh's Superman movie didn't get a sequel either. Other movies that made about the same or comparable, Iron Man, the first one with Robert Downey Jr., that came out in 2008, they made $585 million. Captain America, the First Avenger in 2011, $370 million. So, and those were the first movies in those superheroes, trilogies or groups of movies, right? That was the first Iron Man movie, the first Captain America. They made less than Man of Steel. But, nobody was saying they were failures, again, because Captain America and Iron Man at the time were not as big characters. But, the first Batman movie, like I just said, that made a lot less than Man of Steel. And no one said that was a failure financially, the way some people are saying Man of Steel was. Now, you could say that most of those are movies that came out earlier in this new superhero movie renaissance we have. Later superhero movies have made $1 billion their first time out. Like Black Panther, Aquaman, and Captain Marvel first cleared $1 billion with their first movies, and Wonder Woman with her first movie almost made it. She got like in the 800 millions, right? So a lot of people might say, well, Superman should have made more than that, or got those kind of numbers comparably. But I think it's important to point out that Black Panther, Aquaman, Captain Marvel, and Wonder Woman came out later in their respective franchises' histories, right? The DCEU and the MCU were older and had a string of movies before those movies came out. So there was a stronger cinematic universe already established to boost and buoy those movies to being able to get $1 billion their first time out. Man of Steel didn't have that benefit. There was no DCEU that had already been going on when Man of Steel came out in 2013. Man of Steel was like the first DCEU movie. And it didn't have the benefit of having this established franchise to give it a boost the way all these other movies that I just mentioned got their first time out. So I think that comparison is unfair. And even today, not every superhero movie, even in these more established cinematic universe, not every superhero movie, the first one or the second one, makes $1 billion anyway, right? Doctor Strange in 2016 made $677 million. Ant-Man in 2015, $519 million. Shazam, which I mentioned before, $365 million. They're proof of that. They came late in the superhero renaissance game, right? But they're making enough to get sequels, right? So I think if you were to look at Man of Steel, Superman's first movie in this current era of of this phase of Superman movies, For his first movie, he was doing pretty good. Now, you could use the inflation argument to say, well, $668 million in 2013 wasn't as much as you thought it was because, of the dollar amount. But that's a ridiculous amount. That's a ridiculous argument because, Avengers Endgame, which came out last year, if you accounted for inflation, that's not the biggest movie of all time anymore. It would actually be, I think, Gone with the Wind, which came out a long time ago. But, nobody's trying to say that Avengers Endgame didn't make, good money because of inflation, right? So I don't really know if the inflation argument is enough to discount, not by itself, Man of Steel, $668 million in 2013. That was still, and that's not even that long ago. So that's relatively a good enough amount of money. Now, the argument that I think makes sense would be how much did Man of Steel cost to make? Like if they spent $300 million to make it, then yeah, they had to make more money to make a profit. But just looking at pure box office compared to other box office, the movie didn't do that badly at all. It actually did pretty good. The better way to judge, Superman by today's standards would be what his second movie made, right? Because the second Batman movie, the second Captain America movie, etc., those made a lot more. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, the second Doctor Strange movie, that's probably going to make a lot more than the first Doctor Strange did. So I think that would be a much fairer way to analyze Superman by modern superhero movie standards. Man of Steel and whatever his sequel is called, when and if he gets one. But even if Man of Steel 2 comes out, it might be handicapped in a way other, second movies and superhero franchises are not. Because it'll have come out at least 10 years after the first one when the momentum for that character is worn out, right? The first Man of Steel came out in 2013. The earliest Man of Steel 2 or whatever if the second Henry Cavill Superman movie, if it comes out, would come out, might be like 2023, 10 years later. So it might be handicapped once again because its sequel is so far after the original, right? The heat for Superman, off of his first movie anyway, has died down significantly because it'll have been about a decade, right? No other superhero movie that I can think of in modern history has been, there's been like a decade of time between the first and the second, or the second and third or whatever. Not yet. I mean, another one might be like that. So I hope that, Warner Brothers executives take these factors into account when they're having their discussions about, Superman as a character and how viable he is in movies today. Because I think some people are being a bit too hard on him financially. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel because I appreciate your viewership, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.